I'd been studying the principles, teaching the principles, writing books about the principles for over 30 years. When I was 69, just about 4 years ago. My birthday is in 2 days, by the way. So happy birthday, Joe. When I was 69, in the summer of 69, right about this time, I started experiencing a lot of fatigue and a feeling of a mental fog. Couldn't think. I was trying to write a book about healthcare at that time, and I just couldn't write. I thought, am I getting senile? I just turned 69. I was starting to think, oh, I'm getting old. And my joints started aching, and before long, my back was in excruciating pain, and I just had no energy. And it frightened me. I didn't know what was going on, and I started doing a lot of thinking about it. And as the pain and the symptoms grew worse, one night I was at my cabin in the Canadian wilderness alone. My family had left, and I was there alone. And the pain really hit me in the middle of the night. And I was just, I knew something, I didn't know if I had cancer or what was going on. My mind was whirling with what's going on because the pain was so overwhelming. And so I returned home and went to my doctor immediately and was tested for many things. He suspected Lyme disease. And sure enough, I had the worst case he had ever seen. So he sent me to a Lyme specialist, and I started working with her. She was a functional medicine doctor. It helped me greatly, but I had become preoccupied with my symptoms. I developed a huge blind spot about this, and I began to identify who I was with my illness. And so even though I got better, even though a lot of my symptoms subsided, I still wasn't myself. I still felt like something's going on here. And I didn't know that I was innocently interfering with my own healing. And so my wife and I, she was very into Kung Fu and Qigong, and so she was going to go to a course in Malaysia. And so I went along with and was going to attend the Qigong healing course. And we took our time getting there, went to Thailand, had a wonderful vacation. It was very rested. I thought I was doing a lot better when I got there. But our friends who lived in Penang, where the conference was, when they saw me, they were shocked because they said, you always look so young. You've aged so much. We were really worried about you. They didn't verbalize this. They told me this later. So during that conference, there was a guy in the conference who was a Qigong healer from Switzerland. And I thought, maybe I could see him, maybe he could help. And so I caught up with him when we were going to have lunch one day. His name was Andrew. And I said, Andrew, can I get a session with you? And he said, well, sure, yeah, let's just do it now. I said, walking in the streets of Penang, there's horns honking and motorcycles weaving in and out. And he says, yeah, why not? And I said, okay. And so he says, so what's the problem, Joe? And I said, well, last summer I got Lyme disease. And he said, stop right there. Don't ever say you have Lyme disease. And I said, well, why not? I didn't even know I had it after I was diagnosed. And he said, every time you say that, your body is a quantum field of energy. Every time you say that, the power of your mind, the power of thought, tells each of your cells, whatever you believe about that, whatever you've read about that, all the concepts and ideas that you have, those signals get sent to each cell, and you're keeping yourself from getting well. I said, oh yeah, I know all about that. I've written some books about that on the 3 principles. And he says, and I went on, oh yeah, I really understand. And he looked at me, he says, no, you don't. You don't believe me. And I said, I was a little insulted. And I said, what do you mean? And I said, how do you know I don't believe you? And he says, I can see it in your face. And I said, really? So I thought, what's up here? And he keeps talking to me some more about the mind-body connection. And I'm relating it all to the 3 principles, my concept. And I wasn't really seeing what he was saying. But so he said again, do you believe me now? And I said, yeah, that really makes sense. And he says, no, you don't. You don't believe me. You think you believe me. You think you know, but you really don't. see it insightfully. And then then it was like it stunned me. It was like it was one of those moments where I just kind of got humbled by what he was saying. And all at once I saw this public relations department in my mind. All the conversations I had with the colleagues I had at the Mayo Clinic, my doctor friends, everybody I knew who had Lyme before, reading everything on the internet, every time I'd run into someone, they'd say, "How you doing with the Lyme?" It was like a constant feedback loop that had become my whole world without me knowing it. And I'd run into a huge blind spot. And at that moment, I saw it. And when I saw it, what I was doing with my thinking in the moment, it was like it just collapsed. The whole thought system collapsed. And he looked at me and he said, "Now you believe me." And I said, "How do you know?" He says, "I can see it in your face. You believe me. Now you know." And I said, "Well, that's great. Can we set up a session?" He said, "We just had it. You're done." I said, "What? Well, can I pay you?" And he says, "No, forget about it." So I thought, and I just felt like I had felt that the day I met Sid Banks. My whole mind was just swirling. I was so stunned and I was so relieved and I was so confused, and all this mishmash of emotion and thinking was going on. And I just felt kind of shaken. And so that night I went to bed and I slept really deep. And I woke up at 7 o'clock the next morning, more awake than I had felt maybe in years. I had so much energy. So I went down to the gym. We were staying in a hotel condo thing. And I started doing laps. And I just felt like I could do them forever. And then I went to the weight room and I doubled my weights from the day before. No problem. I thought, God, this is like a miracle. What happened? So I go up to see my friends and I walk in the apartment, and my friend sees me and she says, "My God, what happened to you? You look 10 years younger than you did yesterday." And I said, "I do?" She said, "Yes. We were really worried about you, Joe." So that was super powerful. And I was humbled because I thought I understood mind, thought, and consciousness really deeply. But innocently, all of us create blind spots, things that we don't intend to do, but we just don't see out of fear, something we've never dealt with before. But that for me has transformed not only my life, but really embarked on me doing a lot of work helping other people with chronic diseases.